It's been 7 whole years since the defeat of Cell, and thanks to the Dragon Balls refilling multiple times over this period, they were able to revive everybody that was killed thanks to the Bio-Android. However, the battle that took place over half a decade ago did attract some unexpected attention. Thanks to the time-traveling aspects of what Cell was doing, both the Supreme Kai and his attendant Kibito arrived on Earth to communicate with the Z-Fighters. Thankfully though, they're not mad, in fact, quite the opposite. Cell was the only one who actually time-traveled. Sure, he might have gotten those powers from you, although you had no intent on actually messing with time. You knew it was a force beyond your understanding and chose not to mess with it. And even though Cell was an Earth-made creature, he was a universal threat, and the Z-Fighters took him down on their own, something that Supreme Kai and Kibito are very appreciative of. Although there is still another problem they need some help solving. This visit was mostly for thanks, although it was also to warn of an impending threat, one that everybody would need to work together to stop. So, obviously, you would inquire further, asking what this menace was. Shin would then go into the lore of Majin Buu, an ancient evil that was created by demons millions of years ago, harnessed once by an ancient wizard named Bibidi, and now yet again by his reincarnation Babidi. In good news for the universe, Buu hasn't been awakened yet, although Babidi is still searching throughout the universe for strong warriors to either recruit to his side or drain the life force out of. In doing so, he can feed the energy he collects to Majin Buu's egg, and if that egg ever cracks open, well, it's practically doomed for the universe. Vegeta would chime in, asking why they're even being told any of this. Clearly, the Supreme Kai has no intention of actually fighting Majin Buu. He only wants to stop his resurrection. And in case it wasn't obvious from why they're all gathered together right now, the Z-Fighters are, well, fighters. They challenge threats head on rather than trying to stop them from ever coming about. To which Shin would reply that they don't need the Prince of All Saiyans. Really, the only person they need here is you. Yes, you are a warrior and could probably go toe-to-toe with the likes of Dabura, but you're also a wizard. Nothing compared to Babidi just yet, although with a couple years of training from the Supreme Kai, you might even be able to surpass the original demons who created Majin Buu. Now obviously you would agree, although you lay some ground rules right away. This has to be a day-by-day sort of thing. You're willing to go and put in the effort, although you're not willing to spend months away from your wife and kids. Thankfully, you already have a technique that allows you to teleport from one place to another instantaneously, although you don't want to get wrapped up in things that would take you away from your family for too long. Kibito would be a little annoyed at how demanding you are for a mortal, although Supreme Kai would say the training can go in whatever way suits you best. After discussing it with Bulma and spending a couple quality days together, you would head to the world of the Kais, in which Shin would explain that you have barely even scratched the surface of what magic can do. And just like that, we're back at present day. Your training would have lasted for only roughly 5 years before you knew everything there was for Supreme Kai to teach you. The next 2 years, you just spent training your physical body, getting stronger. You already had mastery over magic, possibly beyond that of even Bibidi himself. But to beat his successor, you're going to need to wait for Babidi to make himself known. It's hard to squish a bug when it's hiding from you. And the day he decides to come out of the shadows is none other than when the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai is taking place, the strongest under the heavens tournament. Also, the perfect place to find the strongest warriors under the heavens. And when trying to sneakily steal energy from people, this would probably be the best place to look. Sadly though, for Babidi at least, you as well as the other Z-Fighters were all participating in the tournament, meaning his plan won't go as smoothly as he anticipated. Now there wouldn't be any confusion as to who Shin and Kibito are, not only because the Z-Fighters have already met these two, but also because you trained with them for the better part of the last 7 years, so you'd be able to introduce anybody who wasn't too familiar with these two gods. By this time, Piccolo would have already merged back with Kami. so he's able to sense the godly essence emanating off of them and thus takes this threat seriously. Everybody else would as well, although Piccolo in particular. Although there is one person who is pretty lax about the whole thing, and that's you. You spent the last 7 years training, getting stronger and improving your magical capabilities. Hell, you might be able to make your own Majin Buu. Well, that might be hyperbole. You're not exactly sure how those spells work, conjuration and all that, although you are confident you'd be able to take him down if he were to reawaken, which your ultimate goal is preventing. Saying you're confident is an understatement, although you're not cocky. You're justified in the belief that you're unstoppable compared to any other wizard you might come in contact with. So the events of the Buu Saga go pretty much the same, up until when Spopovich and Yamu steal Gohan's energy. They flee, and you would go with the rest of the group to follow behind. Eventually, after a lengthy exposition dump from Shin, you would all arrive at the wizard's lair. He would teleport away, leaving Dabura to fend you all off, although that doesn't go as he expected. The mighty Demon King would come charging at you, sword in hand. He would slash and hack away, although you'd be able to dodge each and every one of his attacks. All the while, you're preparing a spell, making sure to keep him close, that way you can launch it at point-blank range. Once it's ready, you would let it go, and Dabura would suddenly be sealed away into the sword that he wields. You would pick up the blade, not being one to waste a valuable weapon, before then teleporting down into Babidi's ship, prepared to end the wizard once and for all. Boxa would follow close behind, being one of the only people to have kept up as you continued to accelerate your magical abilities. In a last-ditch effort to keep the two of you away, Babidi would summon thousands of different soldiers, led by Pui Pui, who was the strongest of them. However, that fact alone meant they were barely any threat. You would throw Boxa the sword containing Dabura, and she would expertly cut down each and every one of Babidi's warriors. So while she's taking care of the henchmen, you rush the final boss. Babidi was a cockroach. It wouldn't have been hard for you to just smush him underneath your boots. Although you have to admit, you do kinda wanna fight Buu. In any normal situation, this wouldn't even be a debate. Buu could kill everybody you love, and from what you heard, he's unstoppable. However, that does make you want to get a good battle out of him. He could be a proper challenge. Normally, you would discard this without even blinking. But then there's Babidi, who's whispering in your ear.
You want this, you need this, you want this, you need this, you need this.
Get out of my head! You burst into your glorious orange hair transformation, flames spiraling around your aura as Babidi cackles out. See, Babidi already had enough energy to bring back Buu, but only half-baked, and he wasn't going to go along with that, not in this timeline. Not when there was already a perfect solution right in front of him. Yes, you. Gohan trained for those 7 years. Goku is here to make sure he did. So when Spopovich took his energy, it was more than enough to bring back Buu in the same state he was in the original. But with the power that you just showed off, it was more than enough to bring back Buu in his ultimate form.
Oh, it's happening. It's finally happening. You've doomed your entire planet, Earthling. I hope you're happy, 'cause I sure am.
Energy would begin emitting from the egg, rippling throughout the entire planet in waves. A crater would soon form above the craft, revealing Babidi's spaceship to the raging skies above.
Thank you for freeing me, Master.
Why, of course, Buu. I needed you for my plans of universal conquest.
Master, is that a weakling eyeing me up, your servant?
There's no shot you're talking to me, right?
Quiet, worm.
No, Buu. The primate was attempting to stop your revival. Dispose of him at once.
As you wish, Master.
Power. Oh shit. Custodio! Okay. This guy's strong.
You know magic. Good. I like my playthings durable.
This would be by far the most intimidating villain you had ever come across. Not only does he have the same killing intent and destructive capabilities of Kid Buu, but he would also have the intelligence of a Kai. His strength is multiple times over regular Super Buu, and if anything, comparable to the likes of Buhan. You thought you were prepared for a threat like this, maybe something similar to Cell, if not a couple times stronger. You had prepared yourself for that, but this version of Buu is in an entirely different league. You launch a barrage of beams, hoping to cut him up like Swiss cheese. For all you know, he could just be a glass cannon. However, that's not the case. Each attack does barely anything, cutting into his skin and leaving very shallow holes that are almost immediately regenerated from. Boxa arrives by your side, having just gotten done cutting down each and every one of Babidi's weaker soldiers. She asks who this weird pink guy is and if you need any help, having sensed you using quite a bit of energy.
Sweetie, normally I'd tell you to run for the hills, but since there's a wizard on his side, nowhere in the universe is safe. So, I'm gonna need you to hold him off.
She'd give you a nod before turning around and grinning ear to ear. She's happy that you finally trust her to go into battle alone, even if you are still a little worried. I mean, you're her dad, so it's kinda your job. Much to your surprise and parental pride, Boxa would quickly enter the same form you were using. The Phoenix power you had attained on Namek now transformed into a more maintainable state that Boxa has learned to copy and is now using for herself. She began using the sword that contained Deborah to hack and slash Buu apart. She might not be able to do any real damage, although cutting him into pieces was certainly buying that time that you needed. You were finally able to say that she was on your level, even if you were still a couple notches higher. However, you needed to be far, far above your current state if you wanted to stand any chance at actually destroying Buu. But that's where part of your teachings from the Supreme Kai came in handy. You weren't able to meet Elder Kai, although you studied all sorts of even his techniques, meaning you were able to unlock your own potential. But to your viewer, you might be asking, how could you do this? It takes 24 hours and you certainly don't have that kind of time. Well, you do. You always had access to the fourth dimension, although you refused to use it as it created more problems than it could ever solve. However, time is of the essence, and since you aren't going backwards or forwards through it, only simply slowing it down to give yourself a little bit extra of it, you should be able to manipulate time to your whims just this once. You would slow down everything around you by a little under 2,900 times. Sadly, you can't interact with outside forces, so you can't just kill Super Buu here and now, although you are able to act upon yourself, meaning you're able to unlock your own potential in the same way Elder Kai did to Gohan, except instead of 24 hours, now it only takes 30 seconds. Thankfully, Boxa would be able to hold off the monster for that little bit of time, and once the ritual is complete, you would stand there in your ultimate form. Although Buu begins laughing, this is nowhere near strong enough to take him down, and even Boxa would stand there with a look of defeat on her face as you're barely any stronger than you were in your old form.
Wait, was this your failsafe? Not even 100 of you in this form could take me on.
Funny you mention that, cause I wasn't looking for a power-up, merely an opportunity to use another one of my techniques.
Kaioken!
He's multiplied his power by 500 times. Boo! Kill him before he gets any stronger!
Thanks for the exposition, but I'm really getting tired of fighting other wizards.
Master, no!
Don't pretend like I didn't just do you a favor. Like I had you chained up. I set you free. So, if you want to fight me as bad as I want to fight you, then let's find some other planet to scorched earth. I kinda like this one.
Buu would rush in a blind rage. He might not have known why, but he had an allegiance to Babidi. He was the one that set him free. So even if he didn't want to, he still cared about the wizard and was going to do anything he could to avenge him. He'd go for a punch, but you would catch it. Looking over to Boxa, telling her not to follow, you would then teleport away to what you thought was a vacant planet.
I know how to deal with crazy. Hell, I raised a 2-year-old. So whatever rage you feel for me, let it out right now. This place is practically inhospitable, so any damage you do will...
While you were off guard trying to explain why this planet was the perfect fighting ground, Boo would come in, kicking you in the arm and sending you flying. As you hit the ground, a shockwave ripples out. Suddenly, the mountain region you were flung into becomes a flat plain.
See? You get it already. I wonder if I need to say Kaioken every time to activate it. Does anything work? Shazam! Cool.
You would fly up to the sky to fight Super Boo once more. The battle would rage on for a solid half an hour before eventually being interrupted.
Broly! Come now. People are here. There might actually be a way off this wretched planet.
This planet was empty. Hey, big guy, give me a second. Timeout. You would then use your elemental-based magic to freeze Boo solid, while you go to investigate this interesting thing you just heard. You teleport over to the nearest key signature that isn't yours or Boo's, and discover that there's somebody else here. His name is Broly. He's a rather tall, shaggy-looking fellow with an incredible base power. Even if it isn't anything compared to the group, for somebody that's just out there in space, he's really freaking strong, with a power level of about 20 million. Again, nothing to you guys, although he's a sixth of Frieza's full power, so if he was one of the guys attacking Earth, that would not have gone well. But as that thought crosses your mind, you begin to sense even closer onto what Broly is, discovering that he's a Saiyan. A Saiyan out here just on this barren planet. How does that kind of thing even happen? But then you sense another power, that of Broly's father. Much weaker, but still there, and you are curious as he appears to be another Saiyan. You teleport over and ask them how they got there, who they are. To which Paragus immediately pulls out his blaster, asking who you are. But you correct him, saying you asked first, before then destroying the little gadget he has in his hands. It certainly wasn't a threat to you, although you wanted to disarm the situation and prove that you were in control. But that all changes when Super Boo comes barreling in yet again, now unfrozen and quite enraged.
Cheap tricks. Like Master. Who you killed?
Listen, Boo. I don't want to kill you and...
Kill Boo. You're not even a challenge for Boo.
Come on, man. You clearly weren't made to have this much power. You're devolving at such a rapid rate. I mean, you're talking in the third person.
Fine. If Boo is running out of time, Boo will destroy the entire galaxy to kill you.
Oh no.
Boo soars up into the air, becoming little more than a speck in your vision, as he begins charging all of his power into a super condensed ball of energy.
Damn it. If I didn't get ahead of myself, I could have just sealed him. But now brute force seems like the only option.
You float down to the ground, planting your feet in the dirt before getting in a firm stance. You stand directly opposed to Boo, and now you're going to face him head on. The Majin launches his cataclysmic attack. The ball of pure evil ki hurled right towards you, you stand firm. You grasp it with both hands once it reaches you, and begin to brave it with all of your might. But then suddenly, you begin coating it with your own ki, flooding it with your energy. And within a very short amount of time, you now have full control over all of that power. You shape it into a spear before shrinking it down to a size you can hold. You rush at Boo, and then in the blink of an eye, he's been pierced by your cosmic weapon.
How stupid are you? Boo can regenerate from any attack.
And how stupid are you? Magic, remember, it makes me a whole hell of a lot more than durable.
The energy from the spear dissipates as Boo is encompassed by a blinding blue aura. Beams of light begin shooting from the inside out as he screams in pain.
7 years to find a peaceful solution.
and this is how things end. You float down to the surface of the planet before talking with Paragus in a more reserved tone.
So, how did you guys get here?
Well, King Vegeta sent us on a picnic, and then suddenly we ended up in this hellhole. How do you think?
Are you saying you were banished from the Saiyans? If so, I'm not judging. They weren't the best dudes.
I'm saying I went off this rock. If you can't provide that for me, I have no interest talking.
Oh yeah, that's easy. I can teleport all three of us off here. Don't think I didn't notice the big guy behind me.
Oh, that's Broly. He's my son. He would never hurt a fly. I wouldn't dream of using him to attack you. Please, just get us out of here.
Of course. How does Earth sound, Broly?